week 2 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few tight ends. I have his sleeper options this week. Harold Fannin Jr. of the Cleveland Browns. So Fannin Jr., one of the hot pickups off the waiver wire, still available in about 60% of fantasy leagues. And he played a lot of snaps, 55 snaps in week 1. But I'm putting him out there as a full start this week just yet. Fannin Jr., got to see a little bit more out of him. But like I said, 55 snaps, very impressive. Joe Flacco threw the ball 45 times in week 1, and he had the 7 catches, 63 yards versus the Bengals on the 9 targets. And he's a guy that's highly touted coming out of college, was Fannin Jr. I know David Njoku's there, but he's in a contract season. We know this Brown team's not going to be a contender. He could possibly be traded at the deadline. That opens it up even more. But like I said, right now, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. But if you're in deeper leagues or have injury, Evan Ingram or George Kittle or Fannin Jr. could be a nice sleeper option this week. And like I said, only available in about 60% of leagues. He was a hot waiver wire pickup this week. The next tight end, Jake Tongs. Next tight end, Jake Tongs of the San Francisco 49ers, available 98% of fantasy leagues. George Kittle's out now 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. Minimum went on IR pretty quick. And Jake Tongs, he had a nice touchdown late in that game to help San Francisco beat Seattle in the fourth quarter. 3 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown on the 3 targets at Seattle last week. So this week, a good matchup at the New Orleans Saints, a defense that really isn't that good. We saw McBride last week have a decent game versus them, 5 catches, 57 yards, and the Cardinals win. And Tongs, I expect, is going to step in as the number 1 tight end. He could make plays in the back of the end zone. He could catch the football. I'm not saying he's got a high ceiling, but if you're in deeper leagues and have injuries, like I mentioned, with the tight end position, there's a few already early in the season. Tongs could be an option for fantasy owners this week. And the final tight end I have is a sleeper, is Dalton Schultz of the Houston Texans. So Dalton Schultz arguably could be the number 2 option in this passing game for this Houston Texan team. Nico Collins, he got shut down last week. He didn't do much. I expect he bounces back this week. Jaden Higgins, Xavier Hutchinson, quiet game for the most part. We'll see if Christian Kirk plays in this game. And last week, Schultz in the season opener, 3 catches, 28 yards at the Los Angeles Rams and had 5 targets. So like I said, targets possibly could be there. I think CJ Stroud, he has to go to the basics a little bit more, where he's trying too much. And he's definitely taken a couple steps back since his rookie year to this season is CJ Stroud. But Dalton Schultz is a tight end. We've seen it in Dallas, and we saw it in his first season with Houston, that could go out there and make plays. So this week, we'll see if he gets more involved. Available in 94% of fantasy leagues. And this week in a matchup versus Tampa Bay, where their defense is middle of the pack and not all that great, I think Dalton Schultz could go out there and make a couple plays in this one and possibly be a sneaky option to find the end zone. So that's a few tight ends I have as sleepers for week 2 of the fantasy football season.